Hello viewers, my name's Hakalinda. I'm a teacher at Fountain School. Today I will take you through mathematics where we'll be looking at approximation, which is the major title, approximation. So under approximation, last time we began looking at rounding off. Rounding off. Rounding off. Now, under rounding off, we said rounding off means reducing or increasing. Now, under rounding off, we looked at rounding off numbers to the nearest tens. Now, under looking at rounding off numbers to the nearest tens, we identified some numbers where if you have 8, this number, you ask yourself, is this number more than 5 up to 9 or it is less than 5? And we said a number which is more than 5 or maybe it is 5 to 9, that number is equivalent to 10. Then we said some numbers that are less than 5. For example, we have 4, 3, 2, 1. We said these numbers, their value is 0. We also looked at numbers to understand what we said based on these principles. So, this is where we looked at numbers. If you are told to say, can you round off that number 52 to the nearest tens? We said, first you check the last digit. The last digit, if it is 5 or more up to 9, or if it is less than 5, we said you write a 0. So in this case, we will look at 2, which is the last number, and we say this number is less than 5. Hence, when rounding off 52 to the nearest tens, we said this number is going to be 50. Then we also looked at different numbers, like for example, we have 56. This is where we said 6 is more than 5, hence it is 10. Then we said if it is 10, there where there is 6, you write a 0, and the one which is attached to 10, we said you add it to 5 and it will be 6. So if you were told to say, can you round off 56 to the nearest tens, we said this one will be written as 60. So this is the work that we looked at last time. Now today we'll focus on rounding off numbers to the nearest hundreds. That is our work we are going to do. So, for us to understand rounding off numbers to the nearest hundreds, there are principles that we need to follow. Number one, since in the last or previous lesson we were focusing on the last single digit, today since we are looking at hundreds, we will look at focusing much on the last 2 digits. So that is the first principle. The first principle says if the last 2 digits are less than 5, or we may say they are less than 50, we may write them as 0, 0. If the numbers, the last 2 digits are 50 and above up to 99, those 2 numbers will have a value of 100. So the difference which is there between the previous work we did under rounding off to the nearest tens and rounding off numbers to the nearest hundreds today, in tens we're ending on 5. But today we will be focusing much on 50. The numbers that are above 50 up to 99, what value should they have? Then all the numbers that begin from 0 to 49, what value are these numbers going to have? So this is where now I'm saying these numbers, the last two digits of your numbers in the number you're going to be given, if the last two digit numbers are between 50 and 99, the value these numbers will have is 100. Then all the numbers that are less than 50, meaning they are between 0 to 49, these numbers will have a value of 0, 0. Now, for us to understand these principles that will help us to round off numbers to the nearest hundreds, we need to look at some examples so that we apply these principles and concepts. So we'll have the first example, which is for example, we have this one, round off the numbers below to the nearest hundreds. We have 1, 17, 52. This is our first example. You are told to say, can you round off the following numbers or the numbers below to the nearest hundreds? Based on the principles I earlier mentioned, we are saying for us to round off 1,752 to the nearest hundreds, we say the first principle, we focus on the last two digits. The last two digits, hence we have 2 under the place value of 1s, then 5 under the place value of 10s. So our principle says we need to focus on the last two digits. We check the last two digits. Are they between 50 to 99? Or are they 0 to 49? That's the question we should ask ourselves. So in this case, we have 1,752. And 52, we ask ourselves, is 52 between 50 to 99? And the answer to this question is that yes, 52 is between 50 and 99. And we say, if the numbers, the last two digits are between 50 and 99, what value are these numbers going to have? Yes, we said it should have 100. So in this case, we'll say, where there's a 52, to round off this one, where there's a 52, we'll write 0 and 0. Then the one which is attached to 100, we'll add it to 7 and we'll have 8 here. And we maintain 1 because 1 is not affected. So if you are told to say, can you round off this number 1,752 to the nearest hundreds, the answer will be 1,800. So we can also look at another example, and we have 449. 449. How are we going to round off that number 449 to the nearest hundreds? We will still come back to the principles. We check. Is the last number 49, hence we are focusing on the last two digits. Is this number 49, is it between 50 and 99? Or it is between 0 to 49? So we find that 49 is here. And we said all the numbers that are below 50, their value is 0, 0. So to round off that one, we'll say, since the last two digits, they are not equal to 50, no more than 50, we'll say 0, 0. And we'll write 0, 0, then 4. So that means we have rounded off 449 to the nearest hundreds. We still need to look at more examples so that even as we come now to answer the exercise, it won't be difficult for us. Okay, let's now go to a number which is having just 2 digits. How can we answer that one with regard to rounding off that number to the nearest hundreds? So this is where now we'll ask ourselves again, is this number 62? Is it between 50 to 99 or it is between 0 to 49? Anyone to answer that one? Very good. So this number 62, our friend has said it is above 50. And we said all the numbers that are above 50, they have a value of 100. Meaning that this number, when rounding off to the nearest 100, it will be 100. Alright, so we are still on the examples because my aim is that when I give you the exercise at the end of this lesson, I want you to get everything, because most of people say mathematics is hard, but it is the easiest subject. Let's also look at this number 47. 47 is also a number which has been asked to say, can you round off 47 to the nearest hundreds? So all these questions we are answering, they are taking us back to the principles that we introduced earlier. So we'll still ask ourselves another question, the same question to say, is 47 above 50, that is here? Is it above 50 to 99, or it is below 0, or it is between 0 to 49? So the answer to that one will say 47 is below 50. It is between 0 to 49. Hence, to round off that number, 47, it will just be 0, 0, because that's the answer we looked at. Those are principles that are helping us to answer these questions. Okay, let me now look at the last example, so that even when we come to answer the exercise, it will be easy for us. We have 26,317. 26,317. So, who can try, based on the principles that I was explaining, who can try to say, sir, yes, me I've understood, I can answer that one? Very good. So, to round off 26,317, we may round it off as, because we'll say 17 is less than 50, meaning it is between 0 to 49. Hence, we'll write 0, 0, then we'll still maintain 3, and we'll still maintain 2 and 6. So, these are some of the examples that I wanted you and I to understand, so that even as we meet these challenges in past papers, you will not have a lot of challenges. So with me here, there's something on this chart that may help us to understand. So I would love that you who is watching, you take note of some of the points that were helping us to understand these questions or these examples. So on the chart there are principles, those I explained in the first place. So we are saying, when rounding off to the nearest hundreds, always check out on the last 2 digits. That is, those in the place value of tens and ones. You need to understand that. So now, if you use your eyes to check the last 2 digits, what should you do now? Check if the last 2 digits are less than 50. Then make them 0, 0. That's the first point we looked at. Then, when you check out that one, check also another principle where it says, if the last two digits are between 50 and 99, then make them 100 and add 1 to the digit in the hundreds place value. That is, tens and ones become 0, 0. So we have a summary of these examples here. Round off the following to the nearest hundreds. We have the first example, 1752. And that number we said, when rounding off, it is giving us 1700. Then we also went on to look at another example, which is 449. To round off that one, we said you need to write, because 49 is less than 50, hence it will just be 0, 0, because that's what the principle is saying. Then we have another example, which is 62. 62, we said it is more than 50, hence it is having a value of 100. All these things we are looking at, they are centering on these two principles. Then we also went on to look at another example, which is 47. And 47 we discovered to say it is less than 50. Hence, it will just have 2 zeros, because we said if the last two digits are less than 50, then you need to make them 0, 0. Now, under the examples on the chart, there is another one there, which is 2. So we'll add another one, which is 2,967. How do you answer that one? Because it is giving us something different. But there's nothing so hard about that one. All it is, centering much on the last two digits. And we discovered to say 67 is more than 50, hence it will be 100. Now, if that becomes 100, what should happen there? We'll write 0, then we'll add a 1 to 9. And the moment we add 1 to 9, we'll say 1 plus 9, it will give us 10. Now here, we are not going to write 10 there. No, but we are going to write a 0 there. Then that remainder, or the one we've carried, we'll push it to the next number, which is 2. And when we say now 2 or 1 plus 2, our answer will be 3. Hence, this is where now you've seen 2,967 is giving us 3,000 when rounded off to the nearest hundreds. So, viewers, this is the lesson I prepared for you. Now, to summarize everything, rounding off numbers to the nearest or to the nearest, or any given number, you are told to say tens, hundreds, and the other concept to look at next time. All these things, they are just centering on these principles that are on top. So you need also to have them, so that those principles on the tens, rounding off numbers to the nearest tens, you understand them. And these principles we've looked at today, rounding off numbers to the nearest hundreds, you have them. So, having said all these things, I want you now to also try to attempt these questions. So, you need to write in your book. You get your book, then you write this exercise. Then thereafter, we'll look at them, in the next time. So, I'm going to write the exercise here. I want you to copy, and remember, avoid cancellations when you're answering. Mathematics requires you to be neat as you answer. Alright, so this is the exercise that I'm giving you, where it says round off the given numbers to the nearest hundreds. So we have number 1, or A, 1,879, then B, 1,939, we have 65, we have 48, and we have 1,985. And the last one, it says 420,434. So these numbers, I want you to practice rounding off to the nearest hundreds. Remember the principles. So this chart will help you to remember the principles so that you're not going to have the challenges in answering these questions. Thanks for today. Until next time. Well, this has been Teacher Ian from Fountain School, a grade 6 teacher. Thank you and good luck as you attempt these questions.